process that resulted in the neighborhood school initiative actually took place over a period of over a year. There were a number of community meetings, hearings to discuss the issues. The community was invited, notices were made, announcements were put in the newspapers. A large group of community people did participate in the planning process. So this is something that really, I think everybody in the community was given a fair opportunity to participate in this. I think it's a good idea. I grew up in the city of Chicago. My public grade school was a half a block away from my house. I walked to school. Nobody got to walk to school back then. Now that was a little different. It was a closer neighborhood, and most of the students only lived a block or two away from the school that they were going to. So it was easy for children to walk to school with their siblings, and that's the way that we did. I walked to school with my older sister. And that was the idea behind this, to have students go to school in their neighborhood so they can develop a sense of neighborhood, a sense of pride in their school, and develop community spirit. Now, I realize that there is a concern for safety. We're a city, and yet we have a suburban community in a lot of parts of our city. So students have to walk distances to go to school. That presents problems. And I know that there is a lot of concern on the part of parents and grandparents and care providers that students are going to be forced to walk long distances to school, a half mile, a mile, possibly crossing streets that are dangerous and so forth. This presents a number of problems. I know there was a meeting last week to discuss safe routes to school, and this is something that has to be very carefully worked out. We don't have a lot of time to do it. I mean, this next school year is going to start in
Yes, with regard to neighborhood schools, over a period of a little over a year, there was I would say approximately 15 meetings that were held, and people were invited to come and make their comments. And there was a committee, a voting committee on that made a recommendation to the board with regard to the neighborhood schools, which was then reviewed by the superintendent. We then had 4 meetings within the community to explain to individuals, and I would say that 3 of the meetings were very well attended by citizens from Waukegan, where it was explained what the neighborhood schools was all about. I've also attended the meetings with regard to safe routes to school, and where it is right now is that the principals in every elementary school and the middle schools are working with their staff, and they are supposed to have meetings with their parents with regard to determining safe routes to school. They are also in communication with the police department and the city of Waukegan, the engineering department, because if there is an area where there is no sidewalk, we should make requests that sidewalks be put in, or if there's decaying sidewalks, we'd like to have those fixed. With regard to busing, we will follow the state guidelines with regard to busing. If you live less than a mile and a half, you must walk. If you live over a mile and a half, you will be bused. However, if you live on what is a hazardous route, and they're certified by the state, we will bus those students who live on these hazardous routes. There is also under consideration for busing people that the parents will pay a fee. This is under consideration right now. No recommendations have been made to the board with regard to the amount that would be charged. But like I say, it's under study right now. Thank you.
I would question about the modification of neighborhood schools. I've always been in favor of neighborhood schools, but with this current plan, there are some modifications that are needed. We do have grandparents that are truly being put in hardship positions because of the way that the boundaries have been drawn. And in talking with parents where their students are going to be switched from one school to the other, I'm not sure if it was even thought about, but the schools that are not making AYP, now the child has to go to a school. Well, they were making AYP, now they have to go to a school that's not making AYP. And so that's something that needs to be talked about. We need to talk more about intergovernmental agreements in terms of removal of snow from off sidewalks, the dogs that are in neighborhoods, the sex offenders that are in neighborhoods. All of that comes under the safe schools. And so, you know, the plan has been worked on for about a year and a half, and many meetings took place, but I have issues with the final plan. So I think there's some modifications that need to take place and that we need to review.
The way we have the school district set up right now, basically any child in any neighborhood can go to any school, and we have a bus for each school in each neighborhood in the city of fifth grade, and it is incredible. It is an incredible cost to the district, it's an incredible cost to the children in terms of their time, and it's an incredible loss to the community in terms of they don't have a central place, a school, that everybody in the school goes to and everybody knows about. When I was growing up, I went to Glen, Florida. That's where I went to Boy Scouts. That's where I went to Cub Scouts. That's where I played football at. That was the center of the community, and it's not that way anymore. And I have taken a lead in changing that. Right before I got on the board, the previous board had voted down a neighborhood school proposal. It's something I've been looking for and fighting for ever since I got on the board. I was very active in the committee that set it up. I like to think a few of my ideas got into the final proposal. I'm for it. I think it's going to do a lot for the city. Doesn't mean there might not be problems that will have to be fine-tuned. Of course, there might be problems that are going to have to be fine-tuned. But let me tell you, this board is not going to go back, and I don't believe that any new members of the board are going to go back. We are going to have neighborhood schools. I think it's going to be a great improvement for the city of Waukegan.